With Foodie's channels all going down the drain, I thought I would give my 2 cents on why all the girls are being demonetized, even though nobody's asking for it. So, the YouTube guideline states, quote, "We do not allow content on YouTube that promotes suicide, self-harm, or eating disorders that is intended to shock or disgust, or that poses a considerable risk to viewers." They do make exceptions for educational, documentary, scientific, or artistic content. YouTube determines if you make EDSA content on a case-to-case basis. However, they provide lots of explanations and examples for what is considered EDSA versus not EDSA content. These include basic context about what is happening and what is in the content, communicating that your content is condemnation, that you have seen opposing views and/or that it is satire, and finally, that it discourages dangerous behaviors. We all know that this is because of the current TikTok lawsuit that has Eugenia Cooney as a core figure. But what specifically about Eugenia made her a core figure in a lawsuit about TikTok's harm towards children? Essentially, Eugenia was within TikTok's quote inner circle, where she allegedly was not only getting paid, but also had access to managers and was invited to TikTok events. One specific incident is cited where Eugenia got ill on a TikTok live stream, and then a couple days later was skipping around TikTok's New York offices, although TikTok's trust and safety team seem to have stated that they had no knowledge of Eugenia being partnered with TikTok in this way. Now, I'm not going to show much of Eugenia's TikTok content for obvious reasons, but rest assured her TikTok is still up so you can go easily look at it yourself. Eugenia's content is largely centered around makeup, with some content around her lavish trips to Disney and wherever else her mom decides to take her and her brother to. That means that, in a vacuum, most of Eugenia's content isn't centered around food in the slightest, not even really indirectly. Millions of videos are uploaded daily to TikTok that seems to be exactly what Eugenia does, makeup reviews and tutorials, but they aren't being used as a core figure in this lawsuit. Does that mean TikTok is just skinny phobic then? You don't have to look at Eugenia's medical records to know that she is not healthy. There are countless examples of scary, to say the least, incidents of her while live streaming. It really is not a hyperbole to say that she is a walking skeleton, and I don't feel good saying that. I do not want to shame Eugenia for her looks or for her issues surrounding anything, but I do have to be realistic. Even though arguably the majority of her content has nothing to do with her issues, there are still problems with that. The first is that for Eugenia's specific issues, physical looks are a huge part of it.
Lila, thank you for the dollar donation. And Lila, listen, I'm sorry, I'm not showing anything off though. If some parts of my body show, then I'm not saying this at all to make you feel bad about yourself or anything like that. But it's just I'm just kind of dressing the way I like. I'm not trying to trigger anyone or anything like that.
While makeup and fashion content has nothing to do with those issues per se, she can weaponize that type of content to create videos that end up being pro her issues, if you know what I mean. That type of content creates comments that will call her beautiful, and while of course those people mean absolutely no harm, for Eugenia, that's what she wants to feed into her issues. That is the problem with, quote, specific rules regarding these types of issues, since it really does depend on the person and their specific issues. If Eugenia was new to the game, then I would also assume it would be quite a different story, but we know she isn't. She has an extensive online history for over a decade that has shown that she has only sunk deeper into her issues, with some slight spouts of recovery, seemingly at least. A lot of Eugenia's content on Twitch did involve her playing games, but also it largely involved her getting ready and answering viewer questions. During this time, Eugenia would be dressed in pretty much no clothing at all at times, and any clothing she was wearing was very skin tight. A good chunk of these streams Eugenia would spend standing with her full body on display, like literally head to toe. I'm sure you know where I'm going with this, but again, that creates comments that feed into her issues without viewers even meaning to do so. A good amount of the viewers' questions were regarding Eugenia's issues naturally, meaning it can create an extremely triggering and unsafe environment for Eugenia. In one Twitch stream, a viewer asked Eugenia to, quote, address the diaper allegations, in which Eugenia proceeded to essentially have a nervous breakdown over the fact that people thought she wears a diaper. And I mean, I honestly would probably do the same, okay? I think anybody in that situation where they're streaming in front of thousands of people, in which a good chunk of those people legitimately think you, as a seemingly fully functioning adult, is wearing a diaper because they cannot control their bowels. Yeah, I mean, I think I would also react similarly to Eugenia, but that is exactly why it is dangerous for Eugenia to be profiting off of that sort of situation, and then where people can ask questions that can create such an emotional outburst. Eugenia, like our girls, spends lots of time on live stream. When you spend that much time on live, even if your content isn't surrounding your issues, your physical deterioration becomes obvious. There becomes a certain point where, regardless of if they're acknowledging it or not, their existence just becomes triggering. They become a liability. In any other place of employment, if someone was seemingly inebriated, whether it is because of illicit substance uses or because of a medical issue, they would not allow them to continue to work under those conditions. It is like videos of singers on stage suddenly stumbling and then fainting. When money is involved, it pushes people to do things that they wouldn't normally do and really pushes them to the limit in terms of what is healthy. I mean, our very own Hungry Fat Chick said it herself that she made the decision to go back to mukbangs because other avenues of her trying to get healthier weren't making her as much money. Chantal keeps preaching to the choir that her demonetization is, quote, fat phobic. She's all like, fat people need to eat too, and I have diabetes, I need to eat. On live, trying to convince YouTube her content is okay.
Eating pizza, eating. A human being has to fucking eat.
This is the reality of it. YouTube doesn't want to fund your life if your life involves issues like they have. People like Amber, Chantal, QLR, and Eugenia are not new channels trying to show their progress. They are established as people who weaponize types of content, such as makeup content or mukbangs, to fund and feed into their issues. Literally. In my opinion, that is a factor in this. They are showing people how to weaponize your issues to make money without ever getting proper treatment or getting better. Chantal is also really stuck on this glorifying point, what the definition of glorifying. But if you look at the terms of service, you can see that they say promoting or glorifying. So I think sitting there eating a lot of food while being like, I love this, I would say that's promoting, but that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. We also have to be mindful of those kind of dog whistle type vocab that the girls use surrounding their issues. We are all aware of the types of issues the girls have. So when they say they aren't dieting, but instead, quote, intuitively eating, you know what that really means. And you know why it is dangerous for them to be promoting that type of diet. Now, I may lose some people with this comparison, but I do think this is a large part of why the girls are being demonetized. One time on Instagram, like probably close to 2 years ago, I came across a woman's page who, to put it bluntly, looked like the tissue on her nose was dead. Like, like a frostbite. I don't know. But as I was curious, I looked at her page and learned that her nose had not always looked like that. So it wasn't like some sort of birthmark or something. She had some sort of what I can now only guess was skin cancer that started from a tiny spot on the tip of her nose and ended up engulfing her whole nose and to this awfully painfully looking tumor. Her Instagram page showed her treatments for her cancer, which definitely were not the usual treatments, to say the least. She was like way beyond Steve Jobs level cancer holistic treatments. I remember seeing her stick some sort of wire to her nose and putting some electric current on it. In her mind, what she was doing was right in her cure for her cancer. But her account is a chronological documented artifact of her cancer progression. Just her face was triggering to look at. Would you want someone who is clearly deluding themselves into thinking they are treating their cancer when it is only getting worse to profit from that content? They don't mean any bad intentions, but of course that doesn't really matter because the outcome is creating real harm for them and potentially promoting that behavior as not just okay, but also as an avenue to make money. It is hard to discern what promotes these issues and what doesn't at times because these issues are systemic within somebody. While on the surface, these issues seem to only surround the food itself, in reality, it is much more convoluted. Many times, people who struggle with these issues don't even see the issue they live with as an issue. And so, without them meaning to, they promote these issues. Even if Chantal doesn't physically eat on live, she sits there and spends over an hour picking what to order on a food delivery app when her fridge is stocked with food. That behavior is not normal, nor should it be something to be rewarded. And I'm sure Chantal doesn't even see the fact that that behavior is not normal. Chantal is getting money for behaviors that do not help her relationship with food, but instead worsens it. That is why the girls are getting demonetized, in my opinion. YouTube won't say no eating content allowed, because whether or not that eating content promotes somebody's issues depends on the eating content as well as the person making the content. Again, it isn't a one-time offense, but instead a systemic one. YouTube is, in my opinion, telling the girls to just wipe their entire channel and start fresh. That is why Chantal's pizza mukbang was okay, but her whole channel isn't. If it was just specific videos that violated, I would assume then that YouTube would have given them that information. But maybe that is me putting too much credit on YouTube. As a closing note, I want to bring attention to a point about channels that get monetization. Both Amber and Chantal seem to have this sentiment of, I only make content that I want to make, and I only make content to make money, so you better appreciate it or leave.
I mean, my content is lazy a lot of the time, and that's how I like it. I want to chill. Like, I want to chill out and talk, and like, I want a soundboard. Like, that's why I have a platform.
YouTube states that monetization must make content for the education or entertainment of the viewers. This is what the girls do not understand about jobs really in general. The people who have the money make the terms, and that means YouTube and the viewers make the terms. They aren't just writing in their private diary, they are publicly showing the world their lives for money, for monetary gain. Okay? YouTube does not care about what you want to make once they start paying you. And honestly, why would they? If your videos don't bring in the views, how would they even pay you? YouTube is not saying that people cannot make any type of content in that realm, just that you probably won't make any money off of it. If your viewers are saying what you're doing is unhealthy, but you are stating that it is without any evidence, then are you educating or entertaining anyone? Just because the girls treat demonetization as entire deplatforming doesn't mean that is true. They can still post all they want, they just don't want to now that they can't get money from it. The days where you can watch someone deteriorate in front of you because of their own self-made hell where their life is funded off of their own issues are hopefully becoming a thing of the past, as it really is not healthy for anyone involved.